Thanks a lot, Melissa. We're going to talk more about it right now. Jack Chambliss is an economics professor at Valencia College. He joins me now to talk about that developing story. Professor, always good to see you. Appreciate you coming in. What are your thoughts on $15 an hour, that big movement that's taking place across the country today?
Well, first, I can understand why somebody would prefer to make $15 than $8 an hour. But the real question that people should be asking in these jobs is, why are they making $8 an hour? And they need to understand that no law that man writes can repeal the laws of supply and demand. People make $8 an hour because there's a tremendous supply of individuals that can offer up their types of services, and demand isn't that great. So if they really wanted $15 an hour, doing some research to see what jobs pay $15 or $20 or $50 an hour would help them pursue the skills, education, and training they need to move beyond what they're making now. But demanding government fix this problem when every time the minimum wage goes up, we see increases in the unemployment rate and higher levels of poverty. This is not a solution that these folks should be pursuing.
What about the argument that you can't feed a family on $7 or $8 an hour right now? That seems to be one of the talking points today. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, first of all, if you look at the data, most people who are making the minimum wage aren't trying to feed a family. Most people on the minimum wage are young, unskilled, single workers who are just in their entry-level job at 16, 17, 18 years of age. If you're trying to take care of a family on that wage, again, that begs other questions as to decisions you could make going down to a college to receive training and something that pays more. If you care about your family, pursuing something that pays more than the minimum wage and acquiring the skills to do that would seem to be a better recourse than waiting around for the government to force a business to give you a raise that might ultimately cost your job and make it even more difficult for you to take care of your family.
Now, some cities have increased the minimum wage to $10, even $15 an hour. What has it done in those cities?
Well, recently Seattle, Washington did this. They raised it to $15 an hour. There's a Heartland Institute report that shows businesses are already making plans to leave the city, already in the process of cutting workers. And as the Wall Street Journal reported, many businesses are now looking for ways to adapt technology in fast food restaurants, for example, to allow people to use touch screens to order their food instead of having an employee there that they're paying the much higher wage to.
So in a case like that, higher wages could be good for some people, but it might mean job losses for others?
Absolutely. The Congressional Budget Office recently reported if the minimum wage goes to $10.10 an hour, as Mr. Obama wants it to, that it would lead to job losses in the neighborhood of 500,000 workers nationwide.
What do you think would happen if we did go up to $15 an hour? From a big economic scale, what would happen there?
Well, first of all, in industries where the competition is fierce, like the fast food industry, we would see some increase in prices because they would have to try to get as much as they can from revenue. But most of the adjustments would take place on the cost side of the equation. And we're talking about businesses moving towards non-human being technology, reducing the size of their labor forces, demanding that people have skills that would warrant $15 an hour. They would tell somebody at a fast food restaurant, you need to not only be able to prepare this food, but there are other services you're going to have to be able to provide to justify giving this money. So most of it would be on the cost reduction side.
Do you think it would play out? We see this on Facebook all the time and on Twitter. Okay, that's great, but you might pay $7 or $8 for a hamburger. Would something like that happen if they raise wages, or would it just be a cut in jobs?
Most of it would be a cut in jobs because, again, the economy is still relatively weak, competition is still relatively fierce, and so a lot of businesses don't have the latitude to double or triple prices in response to an increase in the minimum wage.
Well, you can see quite the crowd out there this morning on iDrive, so we'll see how it goes across the country this morning. Again, Jack Chambliss with Valencia College. Always good to see you. Appreciate you being here today.
You're welcome.